At the ranch gate, the noise collapsed into a stunned quiet, as if the valley itself realized it had crossed a line. 9 black SUVs crested the rise in perfect spacing, dust rolling behind them in slow sheets. HOA security had arrived first and acted like a private army, forcing ranch workers into the dirt and tightening plastic restraints until wrists turned raw. 13 men sat along the fence line, sun in their eyes, shoulders tense, waiting for whatever came next. The HOA president stood near her black SUV, posture bright with certainty, a thick folder tucked close like a prize. Then the lead federal vehicle stopped at the broken fence. A man stepped out wearing a black tactical vest with bold white text that read U.S. Marshal. He did not rush. He simply looked at the restrained workers first, then at the woman holding the folder, and the entire scene tilted toward consequences. Silas Whitmore's life looked ordinary to anyone who only drove past the property once or twice a month. Whitmore Ridge Ranch covered 1,600 acres of open grass and hardworking routines, repairing fence posts, keeping gates aligned, running deliveries on time, fixing equipment before it failed. The Red Barn and Old Windmill were landmarks locals recognized the way they recognized mountains. Silas kept the ranch steady and quiet, and his crew trusted him because the work stayed consistent and the rules stayed fair. Next door, Silvercrest Estates projected a different kind of order: manicured lawns, controlled entry, a board that treated neighborhood appearance like a religion. Over time, the HOA began talking about the ranch as if it were a problem that needed managing. Dust became a complaint. Tractor noise became a grievance. A private security company started appearing more often along the boundary, lingering just long enough to feel intentional. Small paperwork began arriving with official-looking headers and confident formatting, as if a printed page could redraw a property line. Lorraine Ashford, the HOA president, carried herself like someone used to being obeyed, curly golden hair perfectly styled, glowing dark pink blazer immaculate, eyes trained on the ranch like it was unfinished business. The first unmistakable strike arrived wrapped in bureaucracy. Notices began landing weekly, each one citing a different rule and a different fine: fence height, early equipment noise, delivery routes that supposedly crossed association-controlled roads. The ranch was not part of the HOA, yet the document spoke as if membership had been forced into existence by repetition. Silas's crew tried to ignore it until the paperwork turned physical. A compliance worker walked onto ranch land with a measuring wheel and a camera, documenting gates and posts like evidence. A bright tag appeared on a ranch entrance as if the property had failed inspection. A delivery driver was stopped at the edge of the ranch road by a black security vehicle and questioned about authorization, as if a private company had inherited police powers. Each moment was small enough to dismiss on its own, but together they formed a pattern: pressure designed to make the ranch feel surrounded, exhausted, and uncertain. Lorraine's strategy wasn't persuasion. It was attrition, the slow tightening of an invisible net meant to convince everyone that resistance was pointless. Then the harassment turned strange, and that was when it became frightening. Boundary stakes that had stood untouched for years disappeared overnight. A property marker near the eastern access road vanished as if someone had pulled it from the ground and carried it away. A surveying crew appeared without warning on the ranch edge, holding paperwork that looked official until county records showed nothing filed. A padlock showed up on a side gate that had never been locked in 2 decades, a small metal fact that screamed intention. An attorney packet followed, claiming Silvercrest held a permanent easement across Whitmore land. One signature on a supporting page looked too smooth, too practiced, like a forgery trying to imitate confidence. Silas stopped treating the situation like neighborhood arrogance and started treating it like a methodical attempt to manufacture ownership. Every notice went into a file. Every missing marker became a photo with a timestamp. Every strange vehicle pass became a clip from a security camera. The pressure built quietly, like a storm forming beyond the ridge, and on a Monday that felt too still, engines rolled in from the eastern road, more than one, traveling together, closing in like a planned event. At 7:12 a.m. the HOA convoy arrived as if it had been rehearsed. Black SUVs and pickups lined the ranch road. Guards climbed out in matching uniforms marked HOA security, moving with the stiff confidence of people told they could not lose. Lorraine Ashford stepped among them with controlled satisfaction, curly golden hair catching morning light, glowing dark pink blazer too polished for dust, expression shaped like victory. The guards forced 12 ranch workers against the fence and tightened plastic restraints around their wrists. Phones were collected. Trucks were blocked. Ordinary labor became a staged detention meant to feel official. A front loader rumbled toward the property line, bucket lowering toward the fence as if heavy machinery could turn a claim into reality. The ranch manager, Wade Prescott, tried to secure records inside the office, but Lorraine entered first. She took a thick folder from the desk and held it close, an impulsive theft disguised as authority. Cameras captured the moment. Minutes later, Wade joined the others at the fence line, wrists bound like the rest. By 7:26, 13 people sat restrained in the dirt, and Lorraine carried evidence she did not understand, while another convoy approached from the county road. When unmarked federal vehicles crested the ridge, the HOA operation began collapsing before anyone could pretend it was normal. The lead SUV stopped at the broken fence line. Silas Whitmore stepped out wearing a black vest labeled U.S. Marshal in bold white letters, calm expression fixed in place like a final decision. Behind him, agents moved with controlled speed, not chaos, doors opening, positions taken, cameras and evidence kits ready. The HOA guards held their stands for a heartbeat, then uncertainty rippled through their line. Silas looked at the restrained workers first, then at Lorraine, then at the folder held close to her side. He produced a warrant packet, and the moment the federal paperwork entered the scene, the power dynamic snapped. Naomi Calder, in a dusty rose jacket marked FBI, and Russell Danner, also clearly marked FBI, moved with practiced focus toward the evidence. Lorraine's confidence drained into tight panic, posture struggling to rebuild itself and failing. HOA guards began cutting zip ties they had tightened minutes earlier. Workers stood slowly, rubbing wrists and blinking against the sun, the shock turning into relief. Under lawful search authority, agents recovered the stolen folder from Lorraine's bag, and the theft became the cleanest proof possible, evidence delivered directly into federal hands by the person who thought she was untouchable. The ranch became the first crime scene, but it was never the real headquarters of the scheme. A portion of the team remained to document damage, record statements, and preserve video footage that showed the timeline clearly: detentions, property interference, stolen records, and the attempted takeover of a road that never belonged to the HOA. The rest moved to Silvercrest's offices, where deleted files still lingered on servers and internal folders carried names that sounded like corporate expansion, not neighborhood governance. Recovered documents mapped the plan with unnerving clarity: manufactured fines, forged easement claims, shell payments, staged control of access routes, and a developer waiting with millions if the corridor could be seized. Silvercrest residents split into camps for about a day, until evidence made denial too heavy to carry. Board members resigned, contracts were audited, and dues were traced through suspicious channels that residents had never approved. The security company tried to distance itself, but footage and paper trails refused to disappear. Whitmore Ridge rebuilt its fence stronger, repaired what had been damaged, and returned to work with a quieter confidence. The Valley learned a rule it should never have needed to relearn: an HOA can issue notices, but it cannot manufacture law, ownership, or authority by intimidation. And if a neighborhood can be pushed into cheering a private raid once, what would it take for people to recognize the line before it is crossed again? And what would you have done in Silas Whitmore's place?